I'll now call the regular meeting of Hannibal Council for January 21st, 2026 to order, please. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I, Councillor Highslip, move to approve the agenda with the removal, oops, never mind,
not yet.
good? That's the next one.
I, Councillor Fox, second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Item 3, consent section. Can I get a motion, please?
I, Councillor Highslip, move to adopt the consent section with the removal of the Upper Kingsclear Fire Department report to be moved to Business Rising 7A, and with the removal of the CAO report to be moved to 7D.
Seconder?
I, Councillor DeCleva, second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you, council. Any disclosures tonight? I'll take that as a no. No other public input or inquiries? Moving on to item 6, we have presentations. We have 2 presentations tonight. Mr. Keegan Webster from Canada Post and John Gilbert from Kingsclear, talking about the Kingsclear Tree Nursery water issue. So I'm going to ask Mr. Webster from Canada Post to go first, please.
Oh, I've got no PowerPoint or anything.
Oh, you're okay. All right.
Yeah, it's making it easy.
Yeah, keep things simple. Okay. So, thank you all for having me here tonight. As mentioned, I'm Keegan Webster. I'm here representing the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. I'm the second vice president of the Fredericton and Oromocto local, which covers obviously the Hanwell area. We cover all the way from Harvey up to Doketown and then a little bit east and west of Fredericton as well. So mainly what I want to talk to you tonight is about the proposed cuts coming to Canada Post. Well, it's been a tumultuous year for us, as I'm sure anyone who has been paying attention is aware. But basically in September, the minister in charge of Canada Post announced significant alterations, or what would be coming significant alterations to the way we serve our communities and the way we work. So there's 2 main ones that I want to touch on tonight. I'll try and be brief. The conversion to community mailboxes and the ending of door-to-door delivery is a big problem for us. And I know that especially in rural communities, there's a lot of people who already have community mailboxes, right? You might have a small one at the end of your street or something along those lines. But paired with the idea behind conversion to CMBs and elimination of door-to-door delivery is the elimination of jobs. So just because you already have a community mailbox does not mean your mail can't be less accessible than it is right now. Because with those same reports, the Kaplan report from the Industrial Inquiry Commission last year after our initial strike, and then the assessment from Minister Lightbound, the goal and the Canada Post annual assessment of their 5-year plans and their 10-year plans, they're looking to basically cut half the workforce over the next 10 years. And you have to make significant alterations to service standards in order to do that. So if you had a CMB right now, you might have one at the end of your street or something along those lines. That would be transformed into a large bank of CMBs extending from me to the mayor, potentially, that is now suddenly, instead of a 5-minute walk away, it's a 20-minute drive away. And this is reality for a lot of people in rural Newfoundland, for example, but this could be coming here as really the only means of cutting down jobs in a significant manner on the delivery side of things. And I think that is really a shame, and I think it's basically short-sighted, because we see, as much as we see a decline in letter mail, which, on the union side we've been talking about for years and talking about ways that we need to be countering that, and not just by cutting our services down to nothing and selling off our public assets to private companies. But there's been a spike in parcel volumes and deliveries, but the problem is that we are not capturing any of those. Instead, that work is being done by Amazon or other fly-by-night companies that, one, they're paying terrible wages. People are not able to get by on them. I see some of those guys working as I'm doing my route. I'm a letter carrier in Fredericton. Their jobs are miserable, and they're not able to provide quality service, right? Because they have so much, when they're paid, per parcel or something like that, they are constantly in a rush. You're forced to be throwing parcels at doors or leaving them at the end of the driveway to get run over as they're squealing out to make the next delivery. So one, I think that's a big problem and something that would affect rural communities in particular. The other thing that we are emphasizing with this campaign against these cuts is against the closure of post offices, in particular rural post offices. Now, as far as I'm aware, Hanwell does not actually have a Canada Post post office within its boundaries, but there's one in New Maryland, there's ones that are close and accessible to you, and a lot of these, the protections are being lifted, right? There was, from the 90s until recently, a moratorium on closing the rural post offices. That has been framed as being lifted. I don't want to put these things in stone as of yet, but this is what the minister and this is what Canada Post wants to do, is to be able to close these things down. And even in our own negotiations, there were about 492 post offices that were protected by the collective agreement. As part of our own negotiations, we've let 100 off that list. I think that's frustrating. I did not agree with that decision by our negotiators, but sometimes you're in a bind. You've got to make difficult decisions. But what I'm here for basically is asking for help from community and municipal governments that are able to speak in the other ear of the federal government, because they're tired of hearing from us, and I think they want to hear about what these cuts can do, how they can impact small communities across the country. And in particular, I think the emphasis on making sure that there is an actual public mandate review, like a review of Canada Post mandate and the Canada Post Act, and not just one that's dictated by a couple ministers and backed up by private equity. So I'm aware that we wouldn't be able to discuss a resolution here, but I would like to propose a resolution for you to discuss at your next town council meeting, as well as provide some information to help you do some further research on this. I know I'm trying to squeeze a lot into a short presentation, but some people like to take their time on those sort of things. But if you wouldn't mind, I'd just like to read out some of the short bits from a resolution, just to get an idea of what we're looking for. We have had some other municipalities in the area sign on to something like this already, but whereas the federal government has announced drastic cuts to our treasured public post office, killing good jobs, ending door-to-door delivery, removing the moratorium protection on post office closures, and changes to delivery standards for the mail. Whereas the federal government has done this without meaningful public consultation and has made this decision unilaterally prior to a planned Canada Post Corporation review from October 1, 2025 to March 31, 2026, effectively eliminating any opportunity for input from the people who will be most affected. Whereas thousands of postal jobs will be destroyed and 4 million households will lose door-to-door delivery, most within the next few years. Whereas post office closures could degrade or completely remove service in many communities. Whereas these cuts will hurt seniors and people with disabilities in particular. Whereas it is crucial for the government and mandate review to hear the views from municipalities on key issues, including maintaining Canada Post as a public service, the importance of maintaining the moratorium on post office closures, improving the Canadian Postal Service Charter, keeping daily home mail and parcel delivery to the door, improving postal banking, greening Canada Post, adding EV charging stations, adding food delivery, improving delivery to rural, remote, and Indigenous communities, and developing services to assist people with disabilities to help older Canadians to remain in their homes for as long as possible, and at the same time helping to ensure that good jobs stay in their communities and that Canada Post can remain financially self-sustaining. Therefore, be it resolved that Hanwell Rural Municipality formally writes the Minister of Government, Transformation, Public Works and Procurement, Joel Lightbound, to demand an immediate halt to the service cuts and to look instead for ways to increase services and revenues in other areas, such as those as noted above. Demand that no mandate review takes place until Canada Post returns to stabilized operations, and demand that any review of Canada Post and the Canadian Postal Service Charter must be done through a full and thorough, transparent public review, including public hearings with all key stakeholders in every region of Canada. Therefore, be it resolved that Hanwell will make a written submission and or participate in hearings to provide input in the upcoming mandate review of Canada Post. Now that's a lot, but just to be clear, because I think I've had some questions on this before, the last whereas where it's talking about all the services like EV charging and things like that, those are things that we currently don't offer. But the framing here is that we have this large network of infrastructure across the country, and these are some things that we could offer to improve service to Canadians and improve revenue streams and make this a continued viable project, basically a national project. And that's one of the main things we're framing this as, is that the current federal government is talking a lot about nation building projects and stuff like that, and I think that's good, but I think the focus should be on like nation building projects that we need to maintain, like Canada Post, and letting it ossify and rot away, I think does us a disservice and disunites us as a nation. So I tried to be brief, but if you've got any questions, fire away, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Webster. Any questions for Mr. Webster while he's here?
Do we have time for questions?
A couple, not a lot of time, but some.
Okay, then I won't talk to you too much then.
Okay.
Full disclosure, I could talk to you for hours because I also work for a courier company. I'm also the union rep for our company, and
Teamsters? Teamsters?
No,
Oh.
steelworkers.
Oh, okay.
And so anyway, but I understand a lot of what you're talking about, and I understand a lot of where you're coming from, because our company has certainly benefited every time you go on strike.
Yes. Hear that one a lot.
And overworked me right to death. But yet I see where you're coming from, and I tend to be very sympathetic with you, and I see, because I'm quite familiar with the industry, I see the value of Canada Post, and mainly because the one that I work for is not like Purolator. I don't work for them, I work for ICS, and we don't go everywhere. And I see the issue that we have here with just delivering our newsletters. I've also run in several elections. There's a real need for that small, non-addressed ad mail that you cannot send. Like I couldn't send my own with my company.
Yeah.
For example. So I'm very sympathetic to your cause. I'm also quite interested in the things you said about having new services and new whatever. So anyway, it's not so much as a question, it's more the fact that I'd like to know more. If you can send us stuff, I'd be more interested in taking it. If everybody have time to look at your proposals and that kind of thing, and take it quite seriously. So if you,
Yeah, we've got lots of materials and stuff I can send forward, as well as I can send the text of the resolution, just so everyone's not.
yeah, that'd be very helpful.
I'm sure everyone's got a photographic memory.
All right, any other questions, comments?
Just curious, you said that the other municipalities have already put forth a motion like this, similar to this? Which municipalities in our region?
So I talked to Sunbury York South, which is not they don't have a functioning council right now, they just have a supervisor. I'm not privy to all the...
Yeah.
But they have approved a resolution through whatever their means are, and I gave a similar presentation to Nashwauk a couple weeks ago, and I think they meet tonight or sometime soon, so I don't know the outcome of that, but it was I would say generally a positive response, and then I sent them some materials and they discussed and looked at them. And
So no one's actually made a motion yet, this is just in discussion?
well, the Sunbury York South one, but that's just a guy in an office, so.
Right.
But yeah, and I think, so it's still just in discussions for the region.
Thanks.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Webster, for certainly an interesting presentation. We'll see where council goes from here.
Okay, sweet.
Thanks very much.
Mr. Webster, if you could send that motion forward to the clerk, where
Sure.
you sent the other one, then we'll have it for.
And I'll send some PDFs of like responses to the Industrial Inquiry Commission and stuff like that. Not to be rude, but I have to leave because I have a curling game to get.
Yeah, first things first.
Any colonels too? Are you my long lost son, by any chance?
And he's wearing a blue hoodie.
He's wearing a blue hoodie.
Yeah, I
Next
know.
to us.
Thank you.
All right.
Maybe long lost nephew.
Maybe nephew, never know.
Okay, moving on, we now have Mr. Gilbert, and he wants to talk about the water issues at the tree nursery, so I'll give him the podium.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for being here, and it's great to be in Hanville. we're from Island View, and we're waiting for our signs.
It's on the way.
They're
coming, they're coming.
That's super. Just very quickly, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So we all know last year, like I didn't mow my lawn since like the middle of June, and it was a bad and a dry year. And we get the message from the government on the right-hand side saying every drop counts, you know, don't wash your cars and all that kind of stuff. On our backyards is the tree nursery. We're in Garden View Drive, and the street's over from that. And the tree nursery's been there, and we've been there for a long time. But the tree nursery recently, in the last 2 years, got a huge federal grant on the Trudeau 2 billion tree project, which Carney canceled. But they bought 2 large greenhouses. And this summer they didn't have enough water to run them. So their ponds dried up, and Maple Glen Brook, which feeds the ponds, pretty well dried up. And so they're struggling. They have 12 wells in total. I live on the edge. To the left of that picture is the tree nursery. My house is there. I put a pool in 2 years ago. And I like to think of volumes. A cubic meter of water kind of doesn't mean much to me. So my pool is 29 cubic meters. And they're planning on increasing the tree nursery water withdrawal from that aquifer to at least 19 of those pools a day. And there's no real science or no real studies yet as to whether that water is really there. So we're all quite concerned in Island View, and we don't know how far the aquifer goes in either direction. It could go over to Chuck Everett's farm, could go over, you know, well past ours. We don't know. And there doesn't seem to be a lot in the EIA. So the tree nursery had to file an EIA when anybody who withdraws over 5 cubic meters a day has to file an EIA. So we didn't get the EIA. We got this little piece of paper in our mailboxes. My mailbox friend has left, but anyway, it was in the middle of a work, it wasn't a strike, but it's a rotating strike, so I'm not sure where he got it right away. And some people didn't get it at all. There's the tree nursery. That little arrow goes to my friend Daryl Barr's house. And it's showing, they put in 2 test wells. This isn't showing, sorry, on the screen, but the bottom of that arrow is one of the test wells. The other one would be located at the top left. And those are going to be pump tested sometime in the next 2 weeks. Good place to put them, right before our subdivision. However, there's a couple of issues. I'll summarize that for you, but basically a large commercial well extraction can have a number of things. It can deplete the aquifer if they're taking too much out. There can be well interference when you've got wells in the subdivision and you've got something that's pumping a lot of water not too far away from us. And there's also the aquifer from replenishing. We're not getting a lot of water this fall and this winter to replenish that aquifer. So we're concerned about that for sure. That's a little small, but this is the only one you really need to worry about. So this is the wells they currently own. They're planning on increasing either by depth or by bore size of the wells. And it's quite a spread, but anywhere from 95 to 205 cubic meters a day to the proposed 250 to 545. That's a lot. That's more than double. And nobody really knows what their wells will produce because of this aquifer. This is one of the problems. You get what's called well interference, but also cone of depression. So when you sink a well, you drop the aquifer almost like a reverse trumpet. So the aquifer goes down. The deeper you go, the steeper that curve is. And what's called well interference is when you get 2 wells close together, it more than doubles the drain on the aquifer. And I circle these because I'm using these this was 2 wells, but I'm using this as the wells in the tree nursery, which are fairly close together, and the wells in our subdivision, which are fairly close together. And when you have the 2 together, one aquifer, you get this doubling, and you get a bigger cone of depression. So that's one of the things that we're a little concerned about. This is from the EIA, and the big thing that there's 2 wells there now. They were drilled before Christmas. They plan on testing those within the next week or so, and then they plan on decommissioning them. And those wells should stay there. There's 2 of them. They're down at least 300 feet. We feel they should put some monitoring devices on those, so as they draw more water, we know at what point it's going to be too low to get to the wells in our subdivision. And that's something we have to get to them right away. The other thing that we were, I'll show this one later, but anyway, it's from the report. They're required to do a number of things for the public involvement program. Meetings or workshops, appearing in community groups or regular meetings, council meeting like this. All we got was a flyer. And the flyer said that you have to have your comments to us by November 27th. That's it. Closed. And we asked them about that, and Terry sent them a letter. They sent back, said, nope, we're not going any further than comments that were in by November 27th. So Terry sent a letter to them, and this came back. And it says basically that the fact that the nursery operations haven't changed, there's no increase in the size of the nursery, in the boundary of it, and they're looking for a safe operating yield. We believe it's not necessary at this time to extend the consultation period or hold public meetings. We feel that's unfair because there's very little information coming to us. We've got that. They had the EIA online. It disappeared offline for a long time. It came back up last week for some strange reason.
Oh, that would be the GNB website, that's likely coincidental, that's a whole
Yeah.
other story, but. Yeah.
Anyway, we couldn't access it.
Yeah.
So that was where our information was. I did a little sleuthing myself. There's a company in Ontario, the Huskins Laboratory, and you can get a probe and you can drop it down the well and it will tell you exactly how much water is in that water column. And that is the fancy one. It's not that expensive. It's $5,000, but a well costs 20. And it will send the information by the hour, by the day, by the week, whatever, to the cloud, and you can have a look of actually what status your aquifer is at. I would think the tree nursery would want to have that, but they're planning on filling these two test wells in and not converting them to observation wells. This was what was done by the WSP, another consultant company from New Maryland, and they just got 3 new wells in 2000. And I read through their report, and this is just the key points. So they had an aquifer recharge rate was calculated that under prolonged dry conditions, as of last summer, there's a higher potential risk of increased drawdowns and possibly overpumping if water levels are left unchecked. Groundwater leveling logging devices were installed in the observation wells for continuous level logging. They put observation wells around their 3 new pumps for the village, plus 4 new ones. Water level logging will enable provisions for automated well pump shutdown at a predetermined low liquid level. And they got public meetings. So I think what we're concerned about is we would like to have something, between the tree nursery and ourselves that gives us a water level check on that aquifer. And if it goes below a certain level where wells start to dry up in the subdivision, that they have to do something else. They can pump from the river, they can tap in, they can enlarge their ponds, all kinds of different things. But at some point, we don't want to be the test where our wells go around and we go, oh, we're drying our wells up, oh, we better do something. We want them to be proactive rather than reactive. So the key messages for us are immediately, don't fill in the test wells. Keep those as monitoring wells. So there's 2 right in the right place. They want to take the caps off, they want to fill in full of cement and seal them. And I know why, because you don't want, if they're low to the ground, if there was an oil spill, it could go down and pollute the aquifer. But these are already in and they're like your well at home. They've got at least a foot or 2 above. We want prevention rather than mitigation. Don't let us be the guinea pigs. The idea to mitigate demand, so they could enlarge the holding ponds, they could pump from the river, they could draw from McIntosh Brook because they're drawing now from Maple Glen Brook, but they may be able to take a bit more water and store it. We really expect a public information meeting. If New Maryland can have one and other communities can have one, why can't we? And could be hosted perhaps by you folks or down at the fire hall. I think that you said that Johnny's
At the
gas fire down there in the restaurant,
yeah.
was a place that they volunteered. And again, some ideas from the New Maryland process. So that's it. We're not against the tree nursery getting more water. If it's there, take it. But we're worried about they don't know how much is there. They don't know their demand. And that stuff's not clear in the consultant's report. And we've had sort of limited access. So Terry, we met with Cindy Miles yesterday, or on Monday. And she said that all of a sudden they've opened back up the comment period to February 25th. So all of a sudden, it's back open.
That's
So that's a good thing.
That's an
That's a
opportunity.
good thing. But, you know, was the fact that they heard that we were kind of rallying around a little bit, did that make them do it? I don't know. But, so anyway, we're just, we're looking for your support as the new members of the village. And again, like if the water's there, no issues. But we're worried and at least one or two neighbors, let me just go back to show you this situation. So the person that lives right about here has not a deep well pump but a flight pump in their house, and they have the column down. And they noticed theirs was cycling faster this year. I live here. My neighbor asked me in September, he said, is your water a little bit dirty in your toilet? And I said, no. But I do have a filter on mine, and when I looked at the filter, I had changed it around the 1st of September. It was as dirty at the end of September as it was for 3 months. So it's starting to get down to the point where my pump spins up, it's rounding up a little bit more. So my well's 150 feet. There are also some people like Daryl that have geothermal heating pumps. And he's down 300 feet. And there's several of those around, so those folks really don't want to dry up. It's their heat source.
I have no heat. I'd freeze.
Not good. So anyway, we've had great support from Terry. She's made calls, she's written a few letters and that kind of thing. Our biggest concern right now is that we have to get the DNR and not let them fill those test wells in and use them for observation wells. And after that, we'll see what happens after the pump test. They're going to do a 72-hour pump test on that at this time of year. I know it's dry, it hasn't had much a chance to recharge, but it would have been nice to do it last year in September when it was super dry.
Yeah, we're still in a drought.
Yeah,
For sure.
According to the government, it's a 1 in 50-year drought that we experience.
So anyway, we, you know, for a number of reasons, you know, just your house value, you don't have good water, it's hard to sell your house. Not that we're planning on moving, but once a community gets a reputation for not having a good water source, like everybody knows about Carlisle Road, you gotta go down 700 feet to get water. And there's other villages around that are having to do boil water orders and things like that. We don't want that to happen to our subdivision for sure, and our property values. So, I can take any questions that you folks have. That's it for me. Yeah.
So, John.
Yeah.
Cindy Miles.
Yep.
Met, you guys reached out
Monday.
to Cindy. She did a meeting.
Yep.
She's a fellow resident of the ward.
Right beside the tree nursery.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did Cindy have any personal comments or anything like that that you can share, or?
Yeah, she was very open, she was very helpful, she took a bunch of notes at the same show I showed here.
Yeah.
She asked for a copy of the show, and then she said that she was going to get to the Department of Environment to get some answers to some of the questions, and then she got back to us.
I know that the conversation that I had with her, it would have been just before, I guess, the original consultation timeline ended.
Yeah.
December 12th.
Yeah, exactly. It was felt that the request for an extension would have been met, but the other requests that we had put out there, I think after you and I talked, and I talked to a few other neighbors, the idea of, you know, having water drawn off the river, you know, didn't necessarily go over well because of what happens downstream, to which then, you know, if something happens to the downstream properties, then it's, you know, it's instigated by an upstream property or draw, that it's an issue. And it was rather, I guess it was, I found it quite, you know, comical on some level that it's okay to do it on a well, but it's not okay to do it on a water source like a river. A question that I have is, based on the conversation you would have had with her, did she give any inclination into alternatives, or was it just open for dialogue?
Yeah.
That was it?
For dialogue, yeah.
And what was the date again?
On Monday.
This Monday?
Yeah, we were there Monday.
Sorry, open till, what did you go to?
February 25th.
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 I think if you see in your head those 19 swimming pools in my backyard, I think that's a drop in the bucket of the St. John River.
Absolutely.
And they will need permits, no question, the same as when you withdraw from anything. But I don't think that will hurt St. John River
No.
any. So they've gotta have some options for us. So if they test it and they say, well, looks like we can withdraw 480, you know, I'm not so sure, because the consultant and the well driller are gonna make it as good as possible for them. They wanna take as much as they can. So I would almost argue that I'd like to see third-party review on it. And I know that you folks have somebody looking at the water situation in the village, I think. And maybe that's a good test case right there, is to, you know, island view. Yeah.
Was there a separate hydrogeological report done specific for
Not
this? Okay.
Not yet. They've been pumping for years over there.
Yeah.
And it's an older subdivision. I mean, there hadn't been a lot of new houses in Island View, for, you know, a few right in there, but it's always been, you know, no issues. I've been there since 1990. I think in 92 we had a really dry year, and back then it was kind of all my lawn green, and I watered my lawn for 3 weeks straight with the sprinkler and never turned off the water. Tons of water. Not sure that's the case now. So.
Well, you might have noticed we put in advisories last year, during the drought, for people to try to conserve as much water as they can.
Oh, yeah.
So it's certainly a concern of the Hannibal Council, Councilor McKenzie.
It seemed to me like something like that should almost be using, this isn't, you guys have nothing to do with it, should almost be using like a mini water tower, pumping from the river when the level is high, and gravity feeding that to when they need it, and then as it hurts a certain level, the same way water tower works in a town or a city, right? When it hits a certain level, it repumps. That would be a much more logical way to do this than pumping millions of gallons of water from the aquifer. Just, it's much more sustainable. It goes on. You can basically, yeah.
People probably don't know it, but there's a big underground reservoir up at the end of, at the turn there where you come out Deerwood,
Right.
swing on to Mariona. There's a fire hydrant there actually. But they pump that full of, for well water, they pump that full during the evening or during the night, and then it supplies the down the hill people for water that are on the sitting water. I mean, makes an excellent idea, pump it from the river into a tower or a reservoir or whatever, and then use that.
I think they have a small cistern on site, but that's just for one greenhouse. And they do have 2 good-sized ponds. The bigger pond has a lot of area that it could be expanded to.
Yeah.
So they could fill that in the spring when there's lots of runoff and snow melt and Maple Glen Brook is running full. And you know, they could get a...
But we're right alongside the bloody river, that's the obvious choice.
And they own the property right to the river.
Yeah, so I mean.
Yeah, they should just make a pipe right to that and then pump it and then.
Our area is full of springs. I mean,
It's wet. Yeah.
there's springs everywhere, to the point that they're under John's basement, and he has to pump it out. So
That's
I mean,
different
they're-
water though, that's the thing.
Yeah,
That water is the reason why there's cedar trees at the top of our subdivision, because it's wet. And so when I drilled some sonic tubes for my deck, I had a machine, you know, big machine come, and they went down 4 feet and they hit limestone outcrop. And that's as far as they could go. So in the spring, when the snow melts and it goes down, it hits the limestone outcrop, and I'm at the top of the hill, I have no relief to drain anywhere, so I have to pump up to the DTI ditch. And so I have about 5 gallons a minute that I'm pumping for about a month and a half, because it hits and it comes up to about a foot higher than my basement. But that's water that's perched, that's not the stuff
that's what
we're really talking
Yeah,
about.
that's above the sedimentary world.
Yeah, it looks wet, but it's sealed off from the aquifer.
The other thing they don't mention in the EIA is the tree nursery has grown immensely in the past 5 years, 5, 6 years. John mentioned the federal program, and it's something they grabbed that money, and we heard them working over there in 2024, and they were heating these greenhouses. We think they're about 250 feet long. We're not sure, but there's 10 of them. Each one is about 30 feet wide. They're enormous, bigger than anything else they've got over there. And we're sort of saying, well, before you build those great big greenhouses and populate them with seedlings, shouldn't you have looked at the water consideration before this major expansion? But I don't know, we're just speculating. It was the money that was there, they had to do it quickly. And now they're threatening our wells.
You know, and
Because
a
of-
new well costs, you know, $15,000 to $20,000, that's a lot of money.
That's why I say that little $5,000 instrument on those two $20,000 wells is a minor cost. And if they were totally transparent, that thing will actually transmit to a cloud, and you can go on the website. And so the residents could go and see what the water level is. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I would think the tree nursery would like to know for their own thing, rather than fill those in. And the worst thing that could happen is to monitor flow from a flow meter on the pipes that are going to the tree nursery. So just think of it as one big pipe, put a flow meter on that, and they say, okay, well, we're only taking, 800,000 liters a day out of that. But you don't know how that's affecting the wells. That's what you're bringing in. And the pump test for 72 hours may have told you that was there, but 70 hours is kind of short.
All right,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess the thing that that strikes me most about this is, we can sit and speculate, because none of us are hydrogeologists. And we don't even know if the nursery's on the same aquifer. Do you guys know if it's on the same aquifer as you're on?
Well, I would suspect
sure
that
it
there's
is.
one that covers that whole
But,
area.
but see, but
But
technically.
the aquifers usually are
Yeah, I know. But
lower,
the thing is,
lower.
we don't know that, you don't know that,
Nope.
nobody knows it.
No,
And
that's-
my-
they don't know that either.
And my point is I don't know why there was not, meetings. That to me is the thing that you can do something about. We can sit and speculate whether there's enough water or there's not enough water or whatever, but, you know, none of us are the experts on it. And what we should be pushing for, I think, is, questions to be answered at a meeting by the people who are experts in it. And then you can make a good decision, because I mean, it's not us, I mean, I don't know whether you could pump, I used to work in the nursery, another full disclosure, but that was in the 90s.
I used to work in the tree nursery in the 70s.
Oh, I was there in the 90s. And so it sounds like it's changed a lot since I've been there. And I'm certainly not an expert at it, but there's no reason on earth that because we can sit here and speculate. I know nothing about pumping water from the river. I might guess because of proximity, you might be in the same aquifer, but then again, you might not. I've learned that from this waters people I work with, the ones who are doing our water surveying for fun. We were looking at different things, and as to why my well, I have a lot of water, and why my neighbor down the road just went dry. And our guy looked at it and goes, well, because you're not in the same aquifer, and we're not that far apart. So that you just don't know. But there are people who do. And my point is that I think we should be looking at, getting someone in to come and answer these questions and in a way that, you and I and all the rest of us here understand. So I'm hoping that, we will push that, and I'm hoping that Cindy will do something to get these people going. The reason they hire consultants is because the consultants are supposed to know this. And so they should be doing the testing, and they should be telling, people in words that they understand what's going on, so.
That's the big thing,
Yeah.
it's a lack of information,
Yeah.
and that breeds fear.
That's right.
In your subdivision,
It
okay? And
does.
so we're
It
not
does.
against them taking the water if it's there.
Right.
Yeah, it's fine. But, we don't want to be the litmus test as our wells go dry that they're taking too much.
Yeah.
Too late then?
And it's too late then. And
So you need the assurance that the water is there.
We need the
Yes,
source of the
I
water's
agree.
there, we need to know how much they're gonna take, we need to know how much the aquifer recharges it every year. And this
That's
is not
right,
gonna be
yeah.
great year for doing that.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of questions and people are scared. And two big well truck pulled up behind Daryl's house and started drilling a well. So people are like, you're drilling already, kind of thing, eh? But it was the test well, but they're gonna fill it in.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't make any sense when they got an opportunity to put an observation unit down there.
Yeah.
But see, that's the other thing we don't know. I
No.
mean, we think the test well might be useful, they may have reasons to think it's not. And it's the information of that you need so that you can make the right decision. I mean,
well, when New Maryland put their 3 wells, they put them all around the well,
Yeah.
and then they added 4 new ones. That, to me, kind of says, we don't want to affect the residents, and at a certain point, you've got to do something else.
But they also know their hydrogeology too, and we don't.
That is true, yeah.
See, that's the thing,
And we're not
information is what
complaining.
I'm not trying to be,
Yeah.
devil's advocate here, but all I'm saying is we need to have the right information.
Need
And
the test
the
wells.
information is what we should be pushing for.
Yeah, we need the test wells and
And
information.
assurances.
And assurance, yeah.
Councillor Heislip, you had a question?
Is it for sure that they are going to decommission those wells? It
Yes.
says can be decommissioned, it doesn't say will be decommissioned.
It does in another thing that I.
Oh, it does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
It does, they're to be capped, they're filled in with a, I wouldn't say cement, but some sort of plastic, rubber stuff. I don't know. Yeah, and I get why they do that. I mean, you're really, if your house burns down and you sell the lot, you're supposed to actually get a permit to decommission the well.
Yes,
Every well has to be decommissioned if it's not used,
yeah.
because they don't want pollution going down into the aquifer is the real reason. No one's falling in those wells, it's too small.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Appreciate the chance to talk to you folks. Terry, I'll leave you the copy of the presentation.
That's
if you
great,
want.
I'll put it in our file.
Sure. Okay.
Well, thank you very much
Thanks
for
very
your
much.
enlightening
Very
presentation.
I got a few questions. For some reason, I got voted to be the spokesperson.
Well done.
Yeah, anyway.
Good job, John.
Perfect.
We have jobs for you.
Yeah. There you go. Maybe I should run.
No, everybody's concerned about their well water these days.
Oh, yeah, that's a good thing. I was out watering my garden up front, and people are going by and they're looking at me going,
Oh, no.
sorry.
Do that at night in the dark.
Yeah,
It's bad.
counterfeit well.
But that's one thing that they found out when they did the wells in New Maryland, is that they did sink 3 big wells. 2 of the bigger wells, they cannot run at the same time. They have to alternate them.
Well, the Maryland's
That's what they got from
historically
the
had a lot of water problems out there anyway.
I used to live there.
Yeah, they
and
didn't
I
have
lived on
development for a number
Springwater-
of years.
Springwater place,
Yeah.
and I was on a well. But a lot of the people when I was living there in the late 80s, who were original residents of New Maryland, who had 50-foot wells, they all ran dry. Because they have 7,000 or 8,000 people now, and they're all stuck in the water.
They straws.
We should change the name from Springwater Place to something else.
I know, we have a Springwater Lane in Island View.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good presentation. You don't have to run away, you can stay and enjoy the rest of the council meeting if you like.
We want our signs.
It's coming.
We're working on it.
Noted.
I wasn't one of the ones, but we had some very active folks in our subdivision that did not want to be part of Fredericton.
No,
And
I
I must
don't
say
blame
that, was it Austin?
David Bath.
No, it was the MLA at that time for, he's gone now, but anyway, he said, it's no problem, get the thing, sign everybody onto it, and he says, I'll make the changes, and it happened.
Well, if you didn't hear it, welcome to Hamlin.
We've always liked it.
No, there's no reason you
Move
should.
into town. And then I'll just drop these off.
Okay,
There's the
moving
show.
on, item 7, business arising from the consent sections.
Yep.
Yeah, we have Chief Grouse with us tonight, so we'll move on to 7A, the Upper Kings Clear Fire Department report.
Yes, to see you, John. Eugene, your worship, council, no more from the public, so
Should get you to go first, never thought.
no problem. You've got my copy of calls we had in December. I think there was 12 accidents, we had 12 poles and hydro lines, of course. 1 structure. It was put down as an electrical problem, that's what the call come in as. What it was is Buddy was throwing out his water pipes with a heater, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Went in the house, and seen the smoke, and so still come in as electrical problem, but it was on fire when we got there. So we got it real quick and moved on.
Yeah, people still try to unthaw their pipes with a torch. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, no, this was a heat gun.
Yeah, heat gun. Yeah, so I mean, a
he had
torch is,
the
you imagine?
handle, or the trigger locked, and it was taped up, so it was.
There's a lot of heat up on those heat guns.
Yeah, oh yeah. He went inside to have coffee or whatever, and.
How quick it can happen.
Yeah, very simple. Another thing we're looking at is doing an ice rescue course and an elevator course. It's gonna be
$425 per person. But not everyone's taken it. And with your blessing, I guess, we will, if we set it up, we'll probably sell some seats to the Capital District.
Right? Good idea.
Like if we use 6 and they only take 12, then we get 6 seats that we could sell.
Yeah, that's a good idea, help defray the cost anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think we only have one elevator in Hamlin.
Two,
Yeah.
school and the hotel.
There's one in the school?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So, good stuff to know.
Oh, yeah, you need to know that.
Yeah.
You gotta deal with them.
And we have some props from Fire Marshal's office. Extinguisher prop. Basically shows you how to use an extinguisher. So that's available anytime we want it. So, any functions going on?
So Chief Kraus and I were saying that maybe Hamwell Days,
Yes.
we could
Learn how to use.
possibly have
Proper way to do it.
Yeah,
something
And
like.
bring
Great
the trailer in too for the kids.
good idea.
Good idea.
Because a little bit of knowledge comes in handy. I mean, you grab an extinguisher and it doesn't work, well, pull the pin out of it.
Yeah.
If you don't know that, you could be caught.
And with the trailer and stuff, it's good to know it well in advance. So if you're up to it, I'll make the call, so we'll have a book for the weekend.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
So Chief Kraus, will you be able to do our training for our summer students this year on the fire extinguishers? Because we did that last year, right? Didn't we do training on fire extinguishers?
Yeah, we did, not a lot, but we did, yeah. And you get, is new students this year?
Possibly, because we will be probably getting additional students.
Because EFF would be coming up too, the end of May, 1st of June.
Yes, right.
So, we have the other students, they're all have numbers and stuff, so if there's anything major, I'll be making a call. Looking for bodies.
There. Okay, any questions for the chief?
No, that's it.
You're getting off easy tonight.
You're right, now, do another meeting.
No rest. Well, thank you, chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Appreciate it.
I, Councilor McKenzie, move to receive the fire department report for December.
Seconder,
Councilor Kraus, second.
any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried, thank you. Item B, we have the municipal vehicle use policy number 2026-01. I'm gathering everybody has read that in their package. So if so, I'll get a motion, please.
I, Councilor Dooley, move to adopt policy 2026-01, the municipal vehicle use policy.
Seconder,
I, Councilor DeCleva, second.
okay, do we have any questions, comments?
It's just, didn't we already have this municipal vehicle use policy? We just never enacted it? Because we talked about it for a long time.
I think we talked about it, but it was never adopted
Never
as
actually
policy.
adopted it.
We had a really good.
Oh, I just assumed it needed updated for the fire department.
No, we've never had it.
Never had it. Because I know we've talked about it at the
We
committee.
did, but
Well,
we've
it was
never,
committee,
but we've never.
Never did it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Item C, Black Arc Portfolio Phase 1. Again, this was in the package. If anybody, I'm sure everybody's gone over it. So we have to decide whether to move on to Phase 2 or stop at Phase 1.
But I do need you to adopt your report for
Yeah.
phase 1.
Okay, so need a motion to adopt Phase 1.
I, Councillor Fox, move to adopt the strategic roadmap Phase 1 report prepared by the Black Arcs and portfolio for Phase 1 of the traffic flow, growth, and infrastructure planning software.
Seconder?
I, Councilor Dooley, second.
Any questions, comments? We're good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Now, the second motion on there is whether we're going to move into phase 2 or whatnot, so we'll get the motion on the floor and then we'll have discussion if needed.
I would like to, so I, Councillor McKenzie, move to authorize the CAO to enter into a contract with Black Arcs and Portfolio to continue on to phase 2 of the strategic road mapping software development and traffic flow plan in the amount of $38,871 plus HST for a total of $44,701.65.
Seconder?
By Councillor Heisler, second.
All righty. We have a motion on the floor. Any questions, comments?
No, I think we've had a presentation from them, and it seems very pertinent to what we want to do, what we need to do, to continue on with our traffic issues we handle, so
Okay. Any other comments? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Item D, added to the agenda is the treasurer's report, so I'll turn this over to Terry.
So Council, I wanted to speak about my treasurer's report, the CAO report, part of it. I just gave a list of everything that we got accomplished last year, so you can read that. However, for the treasurer's report, I just wanted to let you know that our 2026 general operating budget was approved by the province on December the 17th, and they approved the following rates. So residential for no street lights, it's going to be 0.3683 cents, and street lights 0.3894. Non-residential will be 0.5525 cents, and streetlights would be 0.5841. So based on a residential property with no streetlights and an assessed value at $300,000, this would equate to a tax bill of about approximately $1,104.90. So this is $44.70 increase over last year's rate of $35.34. So with cost of living and us needing additional staffing and services and recreation stuff, I think $44 is, we did very well. So property assessment notices for 2026 taxation year have been mailed out. I think a lot of people probably got them this week. As previously discussed, the province has applied a 1-year freeze on the value of the property. Therefore, tax bills will be calculated using the 2025 property assessment value. These figures are used to calculate property taxes, keeping in mind that not all properties are eligible for this freeze. I did see on social media today somebody saying that they received theirs and there wasn't a freeze. So refers to Service New Brunswick's property tax freeze. They have a website and it lists all the reasons for non-eligible properties. There was about 6 of them. So Service New Brunswick is responsible for assessing and classifying properties in New Brunswick, not municipalities. So residents should address their concerns with Service New Brunswick by calling 1-888-762-8600. And the deadline to file a request for review is February the 18th, and property tax bills will be mailed out on March the 2nd.
Yeah, just as a note of clarity, you had mentioned the tax bill for the $300,000 assessment. That was only the municipal portion, which is about 40% of the tax bill. There's also an additional 60% of the tax bill that comes directly from the province.
Yes.
So if residents happen to notice that my tax bill should only be $1,000 on $300,000, well, that's the reason why it could be 6% higher than that. So.
Right. Correct.
Okay. Any questions for Terry?
I move to receive the CAO report.
Councillor McKenzie, I second.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8A, new business. 8A, it's Madison Heights subdivision 2025 phase 2. So this is the second phase of that subdivision going in. We already had phase 1 not that long ago.
Yeah. So with phase two, they were approved for this a little while back. The developer doesn't plan on doing anything for a bit. He's going to do phase one. However, instead of having to come back later, he just figured that we would just put these on the books now. So once again, we can take the 8%, which is calculated in your table, or you can ask for 8% of the total area of the lots, as in land. You can ask for part land, part cash.
Okay, can I get a motion, please? 8A, motion under Madison Heights subdivision 2025, phase 1, in red.
I'll make a motion and then we'll see where it goes. I, Councillor Heislip, move that the rural community of Hanwell requests a sum of money up to 8% of the value of the property in the amount of $24,783.92 as per similar sales and S&B property assessments online as defined in the table following. Do you want me to read the table?
No.
Okay.
No.
It'll be in the minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I have a seconder, please?
I, Councillor DeCleva, second.
Any questions, comments? Councillor McKenzie?
Just make a comment there for people that might be listening as to why I'm going to vote the way I am. I made it clear, hopefully, probably not, many moons ago that in the cases of us looking for land, public purposes, whether it be land or money, I will always vote for the side of land. Tried a couple times in the past, I know that usually always fails. So this time, the same holds true. I'm not going to support taking the money for this. I would have rather see the land. I don't care if it's only 100 square feet and plant a tree on it, right? It doesn't really matter to me the size. I think we need the land is more usable regardless of what it is over the small amount of money that we get over this. So that's why I will not be supporting this motion.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
I have just one other comment.
Deputy Mayor?
I guess the one thing I would like maybe that we could ask the Service Commission to do going forward is they put in the recommendation as to whether they want land, whether we should look at land or at money. I know every subdivision is different. I'm a great proponent of if we could get land that's useful there, we should. If we don't, then I don't have a problem with the money. But I guess what I would like to see happen, I don't know how much when people come in to do these things. I know sometimes people will come and they'd like us to take a piece of land, and we had that come up. And it didn't seem feasible at the time. But I'd like to see somewhere in the documentation, because usually the Service Commission is very good at working with the developers. And I'd like to see some kind of in their report, just where they've indicated whether or not they've discussed this option with the landowner.
To take the land?
No,
Just
Just
to have an
If
option.
there's any land that would be
just
appropriate.
to work with them, for this to be a collaborative thing, I guess is my idea. Because some people, would be interested in that option and maybe aren't aware of it. And so, and there may be cases where they are wanting to do that, the land's not suitable. But I'd just like to see a note in their files when we get them, whether they've actually discussed this and worked with the landowner to see which option really is the best for everybody concerned.
That'd be nice,
Yeah,
Like where it would be in the plot.
yeah,
When you look at it, when we look at this map in front of us, what we see is the proposed building lots. What we don't see is where said property as the 8% could be,
yeah.
and what value we would put on it. So
Yeah.
That makes sense.
there's no knowledge as to where that 8% could be, what it is, where it is.
Councillor Fox?
Just a question to the CAO. I'm just wondering, I can't recall how many lots there were in phase 1.
I can tell you, I have it right here.
I think there would have been 8, because there's 9, it starts at number 9 in phase 2, so there must have been 8.
That's what
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, there's the same.
Yeah, there was 8.
Okay.
Well, 8, one of them was that pond. Yeah. one, so there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 8. And one was
Not useful.
not usable.
Okay,
So
any
we're
other
seven.
questions or comments? Councillor Fox?
Well, so just to comment on that, so now we're looking at 15 lots, right? In total. That kind of changes things for me, because now we're not looking at something small, now we're looking at a larger subdivision. And how many lots do you need before we should have some land, as opposed to, you know, just taking the money, right? So, yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to say that it just kind of changes things, because now it's bigger, right? And how big becomes big enough that we need to take some property.
So council, I don't believe from talking to the developer that he's in a big rush for this. If you would like, I can go back and ask him, like, is it possible to possibly do the land portion of it? How big of the area and where would it be? And then I can bring it back. We're probably gonna have a couple of meetings in February with the audited financial statements and different things that we've got going on. So I could certainly talk to the developer if you want to kind of put this on hold and then bring it back to you afterwards.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, possibly want to maybe run that through Lonnie and you can contact the developer, right? Is that what you're saying?
It can be, I mean, he's been here in my office
Oh, okay.
umpteen times, so.
Deputy Mayor?
But actually, this was my point exactly, as to why we'd like to have this stuff worked out before, because it really is not up, we should not be the ones talking to him. That it should go through the development officers and go through Lonnie's office.
Yeah,
It
it's
shouldn't-
their
It's their
responsibility.
responsibility to do that stuff for us, yeah.
So
Because
you
they're
can-
our planners.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you can
Yeah,
contact Lonnie.
Yeah.
If that's what council desires, then we'd have to table this motion
Yeah.
to our next meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to have the discussion with him, actually. Always.
Okay.
I can just rescind the motion?
No, I think we just have to table it, don't we?
We could just make a motion to postpone this to a future council session. I can make a motion. I'd like to, make a motion to postpone the motion on the floor to a future session of council to be determined.
Second?
Councillor Dooley will second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favour signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So this motion has been postponed until probably our next meeting or until Lonnie gets some information for us. Okay, moving on to item B, the radon testing, remediation. Terry has talked to those folks and she has some information for us.
Thank you. So I contacted a company, I found one in actually Plispamsis. Was talking to them the day before yesterday. They had to come today to do something in Fredericton. So they came over, they looked at our results. They really think that it probably has something to do with the air exchange. Our boardrooms were quite high. However, in those areas, you're not getting a whole lot of air circulation. We have them closed up a lot. There's not windows in there. They said that I was worried because we didn't test the community hall. And I said, you know, like, I'm just kind of worried with rents and stuff. He said the air is circulating all the time, especially where the room is so large. So I mentioned to him about using the boardrooms as well, and he said he said as long as you kind of kept a wall, part of our wall or a door open, like into the community hall or into this part, he really didn't see an issue with it. He said radon is long-term exposure, so he said having a rent is not going to do anything. Saying that they did go through our building, looked at all of the air exchange. I said that we are also working with PMC right now to look at our air exchange system anyway. So there is a pipe. I didn't think that we probably had the radon pipe 2015, it was put in as code that every building had to have one. I didn't think that we had one. He said that for a building this size, there are probably a few of them, and they're probably in the walls or whatever. So I'm going to go back and look at the plans. He was just here today, and we'll try to see if there's other ones. But there is one in our mechanical room. So what they're thinking of doing, they will cut a small hole, probably somewhere close to the front of the building in the floor, and it's like a vacuum to be able to see, and if there is air intake or something, then they'll know more. So they're gonna do some testing first. I don't have a price for you. I had a kind of a blank motion for you, but I think it's too premature. If anything, maybe just do a motion just saying that to let me mitigate it or whatever, but I think that's kind of common sense. That is something that we've got to do regardless.
This be an operational thing.
Yeah, I really think it is an operational
It's
or whatever, and until I find out costs and stuff, and then I will bring it back, but it's something now that we are aware of, we really should
Yeah, like this would
look
be
into.
budgeted under building maintenance, really.
Yeah, so it's only if it came back and it was, you know, tons and tons of money, then I would bring it forward to you, but it is something that we've got to get fixed, and, but yeah, we're very fortunate, I think, to be able to get them in 1 day's
Quick,
Yeah.
very good.
notice or whatever, so I will update you as soon as we know more. They're gonna, I gave them a copy of our foundation plan and stuff, so they were going to kind of look at that and see, because we're only on a slab kind of thing, so. He really thinks that a lot of it is just the air circulation, which may be fixed.
Is it the lack of air circulation, or is it something that's in the circulation system that's making that room worse, or those areas worse?
Well, the boardrooms has very little circulation because they're always closed up.
Right.
The mayor's office also, that was a little bit higher, but a lot of times he's kind of in our offices, right? So not really into that one. So I think it's just kind of usage, and when things are closed off, of course, you're not
Maybe
going to
just
have.
leave the folding doors open unless there's a reason to close them, then that would get rid of that problem.
Yeah, that's kind of good news.
Well, see, we didn't know
Yeah, I know,
until
but I mean, just going
we
forward.
had this, so, yeah. So I think I will discuss this with PMC as well, and maybe it's part of that whole air exchange thing that we can rectify. So maybe between the two companies, we can get this.
It shouldn't be very expensive to do that. It's usually just a little fan, so if the pipes were already done like that for, as it was for code,
Right.
they probably already have the electrical and everything already run to it.
Yeah, because I think he said that with the pipe, then it's another pipe that will go up through to the roof.
Yeah, it just vents it out.
Something
That's all it
or
does. There's like
whatever.
one spot vents it like
I
a
will
closing
say-
air. Vents it.
I will say this though, we can leave the doors open between the hall and the boardrooms, however, both of those rooms are heated differently. So then you've got a cross biting
Oh,
between
yeah.
the hall heat and the
Yeah.
boardroom heat. Boardroom's geothermal where the hall is not, so.
Be this side, maybe.
They
It
could,
is,
yeah,
it's,
Can be left open on this side, like
Yeah.
towards the hallway?
Yeah.
we,
through the day.
through the day,
yeah.
through the
Yeah.
day, yeah. And then he said that was kind of another thing, our heating system, it cools down at night, like usually 4 o'clock, our heating system will cool down, so he said that radon will
Spikes.
rise, right? So he said that there's other systems that we can get, the little pucks that we have, it's kind of interesting, the radon pits, that plastic, so they have to take a microscope and they have to count all those little dots that have hit the inside of that. So I was like, okay, this was like not much bigger than a toonie kind of thing, and they counted like the 600 some grade. So he said that our tests that will be more of a graph. And I was mentioning about yours, Councillor McKenzie, and he was wondering if yours hooks up into a computer that will show you those graphs?
You can, yeah, I just use the stuff that's built into the machine with it, but you can get graphs.
trending kind of.
Or whatever,
There's
so.
a way to do it,
Yeah, anyway, so, I ended up having to leave to go to a meeting, so I wasn't able to finish the last of it, and he said he'd contact me, tomorrow, so I'll know more as we move forward, but maybe we'll have to do some other kind of testing, so. We're on it.
Okay, moving on to item 9, proclamations, we do not have any. Item 10, upcoming activities, January 22nd to February the 8th. Frostival Snowshoe and Ski Lawn Pickup, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Contact Hanwell Recreation at hanwell.nb.ca for more information. February 28th, the Moonlight Hike at Hanwell Recreation Park at 7 p.m. Item 11, we do not have a closed session for tonight. Item 12, date, time, and location, next meeting, will regular council meeting, council chambers, February the 18th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
I, Councillor Fox, move to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned at 8:11.